Hi there, happy Saturday. Hopefully, you guys had a great Merry Christmas and you're planning for a super happy New Year. I've been super duper busy on these fronts. I actually, in my mind, I plan to get like all my videos for this week done like by Monday and Wednesday. Did not happen that way. Just life. Yeah, that's like I'm gonna get it done, but Anyway, for this topic for this week, I think you guys remember that way back when, for any of you guys that have been here on the channel before, I did pose a question and, did ask if you all had certain topics that you wanted me to discuss. So everyone that did list something that they wanted me to discuss, I did, or something that you wanted me to go over related to a topic related to self-care, self-love, whatever. So I jotted down all of those. So I'm going in order with my own topics that I have to discuss, and then I'll just mesh those in. So the topic this week is going to be from viewer with YouTube handle at XIONLIN. They had a really nice topic. So they wanted to know, I'm going to read what they have here. They said they wanted to know about a deep dive into the intent behind our actions. So, in other words, they mentioned that it's important to understand the underlying thoughts that inform our actions. So, that's what I'm going to discuss for this week's topic about like how do we understand those underlying thoughts that inform our actions. So every video that I do regarding the scenarios and the examples, real life scenarios, I'll group them in fours, and similar to this one as well. So I'll give you 4 points about how to address that viewer's question and how I'm going to go ahead and tackle it. All right. So first things first, to understand the reason or the intent or the thoughts behind our actions, the first thing you have to understand is, what are your core beliefs? That's number one. So those are the quiet conclusions that you've drawn about yourself, about others, and also the world around you, right? So these normally operate in the background though. So they sort of steer our decisions before we even consciously weigh our options, right? So they're just lingering in the background. These are our core beliefs. Everyone has them. All right. And then number 2, you have your internal narratives. So your internal narratives, that's like the running commentary in your mind that shapes how you interpret situations, right? So this is what you tell yourself in moments of uncertainty or doubt. And it often determines whether you act from confidence or caution. So that's number 2, those internal narratives that you have. Now, this one I think is super duper, the next one. Number 3 is emotional filters. So emotional filters, these are our past experiences, and they essentially color our present reactions. So in other words, our emotions act like a lens, right? So they don't just respond to events, they actually frame them. So to give you an example, think about when you see a picture in a frame, right? Every time you see that picture, it looks the same, right? You're looking at it from that lens. That is what is in the frame. So that is our emotional filter. So unless you change and put another picture in there, every time you view that picture, that's the lens that you're going to, say, hey, this is what this looks like. Until you relearn, change, you're going to see things that way. So that would be our emotional filters. That is a huge one that sort of decides how we make decisions and how we act. And then lastly, number 4 is our automatic assumptions. So our automatic assumptions is, in other words, that's like the knee-jerk reaction, like the split-second judgments that influence our behavior without asking permission, right? So if we were to slow down and notice them, this gives us, reason to make different choices, right? So those automatic assumptions. So just to do a quick recap, to understand why we make certain decisions is number one, our core belief. Our core belief is the foundation layer, right? So this is that you quietly, what you quietly accept as true. So this is just something that's, in other words, something that's static, just your core belief. Then number two, you have your internal narratives. So your internal narratives, that's the story that you tell yourself in real time, right? When you're about to make said decision. And then number three, the one that I think is really important is emotional filters. So essentially emotional filters, this is where all of our trauma lives, right? So anything that is going to be unresolved emotional memory that shapes our reactions. Also, this is triggers, moments that activate old emotional responses, and then also sensitivity. So this is like our heightened emotional awareness from a past impact, right? So these just don't distort reality. They sort of prioritize certain details, right? Remember how we see things in that frame. All right. And then lastly, it's our automatic awareness. So our automatic awareness is sort of like our mind trying to keep us safe. So it's like our protection, in other words. So this is the way that we sort of protect our energy and our safety. Even though it's not always accurate, it's just like our knee-jerk response. So I hope that helps. So those are the 4 reasons that I believe, just from many years of experience and seeing how, people carry out with making decisions, lots of years of coursework dealing with psychology, behavioral analysis, and things like that. So that's what I think is the underlying premise to why we make certain decisions, why we act certain ways. Core beliefs, internal narratives, our emotional filters, and then also those automatic assumptions. So I hope this has helped someone that is trying to understand why they behave and act in certain ways. I hope this has helped someone, or that it's giving you something to think about when you think about why you behave or act a certain way. Otherwise, I hope you guys have a great rest of your Saturday and a great rest of your weekend. Take care and be well.